The Outsider's Arrival. The cerulean skies of Zarkon Prime stretched endlessly above Mira Chen as she stepped off the interstellar transport. The alien sun, larger and more orange than Earth's, beat down on her face, its unfamiliar warmth a stark reminder of how far she was from home. As Earth's newly appointed diplomat to the Galactic Confederation, Mira knew the weight of responsibility on her shoulders. Humanity, still finding its footing among the stars, needed allies. The Zarkon, with their advanced technology and strategic position in the galaxy, seemed like the perfect candidates. Mira straightened her crisp uniform, emblazoned with the United Earth Government insignia, and took a deep breath of the planet's slightly sulfuric air. The spaceport buzzed with activity, various alien species darting to and fro, but it was the tall, willowy figures of the Zarkon that drew her attention. Their iridescent scales shimmered under the alien sun, and their forearms moved with fluid grace as they went about their business. A Zarkon official approached, his elongated face set in what Mira hoped was a welcoming expression. "Greetings, Earth being," the alien said, its voice a melodious trill. "I am Sarnvas, your liaison to the High Council. Welcome to Zarkon Prime." Mira bowed slightly, careful to follow the cultural briefing she'd received. "Thank you, liaison Sarnvas. I am Mira Chen, representing the United Earth Government. It's an honor to be here." Sarnvas's upper set of arms waved dismissively. Yes, we are pleased to host your species, though I must say we were expecting someone more substantial." Mira felt a flicker of annoyance, but maintained her diplomatic smile. "I assure you, liaison, what I lack in physical stature, I make up for in dedication and skill." The Zarkon made a sound that might have been a laugh. "Of course. Come, let us proceed to your quarters. The High Council has granted you permission to explore certain approved areas of our capital. We wouldn't want you to get lost or overwhelmed." As they walked through the bustling spaceport, Mira couldn't help but notice the looks she received from other Zarkon. Some were curious, others dismissive, but none seemed particularly welcoming. She'd expected some resistance. Humanity was still new to the galactic stage, but the condescension in their gazes was unmistakable. Their transport, a sleek levitating vehicle, whisked them through the alien cityscape. Towering spires of crystalline material reached towards the sky, connected by gossamer bridges that seemed to defy physics. It was beautiful, yes, but also intimidating in its otherness. "Your people have achieved much," Mira commented, trying to break the awkward silence. Sarnvas's head tilted in what might have been pride. "Indeed, we have guided the development of countless species. Perhaps in time, your Earth will reach a fraction of our greatness." Mira bit back a retort. This was not the time for pride or argument. She needed to build bridges, not burn them before they were even constructed. The transport eventually brought them to a quieter district, where the buildings were shorter and more spread out. As they disembarked, Mira noticed a commotion near one of the structures. A group of Zarkon were gathered, pointing and chattering excitedly. "What's happening there?" Mira asked, curiosity getting the better of her. Sarnvas glanced over, his upper eyes narrowing. "Ah, nothing of importance. Merely some local fauna causing a disturbance. Come, your quarters are this way." But Mira was already moving towards the crowd, drawn by an inexplicable pull. As she approached, the Zarkon parted, some looking at her with surprise, others with disdain. And there, in the center of the commotion, was a creature unlike anything Mira had ever seen. It stood on 4 legs, its body covered in thick, golden fur. But it was the creature's eyes that captivated Mira, intelligent, curious, and startlingly aware. It looked like a bear, if bears had evolved on an alien world and developed an aura of sentience. "Fascinating," Mira breathed, taking a step closer. The creature turned its gaze to her, and for a moment, Mira felt a connection, a spark of understanding that transcended species. "Earth being, Sarnvaz's voice cut through her reverie. Step away from that beast. The Ursari are unpredictable and dangerous. Ursari? Mira asked, reluctantly tearing her eyes away from the creature. They're native to this world. Sarnvaz made a gesture of affirmation. Yes, though native is perhaps too generous a term. They are beasts, nothing more. Useful for labor or entertainment, but hardly worth your attention. The Ursari let out a low growl, and Mira could have sworn she saw a flash of indignation in its eyes. But before she could say anything, a group of Zarkon workers appeared, brandishing devices that emitted a high-pitched whine. The Ursari's ears flattened against its head, and it reluctantly allowed itself to be herded away. Come, Sarnvaz said, his tone leaving no room for argument. We have wasted enough time on this triviality. As they continued to her assigned quarters, Mira's mind raced. The Ursari had seemed far more than a simple beast. There had been intelligence in those eyes, a spark of something that reminded her of humanity's own journey from primitive origins to the stars. Her quarters, while luxurious by human standards, felt cold and alienating. Sarnvaz left her with instructions for the following day's meetings and a not-so-subtle reminder to stay within approved areas. Once alone, Mira activated her secure communication device. The holographic image of her superior, Admiral John, flickered to life. Report, Diplomat Chen. The Admiral said, her weathered face etched with concern. Mira took a deep breath. Admiral, the situation here is complex. The Zarkon are advanced, yes, but they view us as little more than children. Building an alliance on equal terms may be more challenging than we anticipated. Admiral Zhang nodded gravely. We suspected as much. But we need this alliance, Mira. Earth's position is precarious, and the Zarkon's technology could be the key to our survival. I understand, Admiral, but there's something else. Mira hesitated, knowing how outlandish it might sound. There's a species here called the Ursari. The Zarkon treat them like animals, but I saw one today, and I'm convinced there's more to them. They could be potential allies. The Admiral's eyebrows rose. Allies? Mira, we sent you there to negotiate with the Zarkon, not to find alternative options. Focus on your mission. But Admiral, that's an order, Diplomat Chen. We can't afford to alienate the Zarkon by showing interest in a species they consider beneath them. Stick to the plan. The transmission ended, leaving Mira alone with her thoughts. She walked to the window, gazing out at the alien cityscape. Somewhere out there, the Ursari were living lives the Zarkon deemed unworthy of respect or consideration. It didn't sit right with her. A memory surfaced, her childhood history lessons about Earth's own past, where entire groups of humans were once considered less than others. How long had it taken for humanity to move past such thinking? And here they were, encountering it again among the stars. Mira made a decision then, one that she knew might jeopardize her mission and career. She would follow her orders, yes, and work to build an alliance with the Zarkon. But she would also find a way to learn more about the Ursari. If there was even a chance they were more than the Zarkon claimed, she owed it to the principles of her people, and to the spark she'd seen in that Ursari's eyes, to uncover the truth. As the alien night fell, casting the city in a soft, bioluminescent glow, Mira began to plan. She would play the part of the eager, naive human diplomat. She would attend meetings, make proposals, and work tirelessly to win the Zarkon's respect. But in the shadows, in the moments between official functions, she would seek out the Ursari. Little did Mira know that her decision would set in motion a chain of events that would not only change her life, but alter the course of galactic history. As she drifted off to sleep, the image of the Ursari's intelligent eyes stayed with her, a promise of unexpected allies in a vast, often hostile universe. The next morning, Mira awoke to the soft chimes of her Zarkon-provided alarm. As she prepared for her first official meeting with the High Council, she couldn't shake the feeling that she was standing on the precipice of something monumental. The fate of Earth, The enigma of the Ursari and the condescension of the Zarkon all swirled in her mind, a complex tapestry of interstellar politics and personal conviction. With a deep breath, she straightened her uniform one last time and stepped out into the alien day, ready to face whatever challenges lay ahead. The journey to uncover the truth about the Ursari and secure a future for humanity among the stars had only just begun, forging unlikely bonds. The following weeks tested Mira's patience and diplomatic skills to their limits. Each meeting with the Zarkon High Council felt like navigating a minefield of condescension and thinly veiled insults. The willowy aliens seemed to take perverse pleasure in reminding her of humanity's quaint achievements and limited understanding of the universe. "You must understand," Earth Being Chen. Counselor Vexera said during one particularly grueling session, her forearms gesticulating in what Mira had come to recognize as a patronizing manner, that the technology you seek is far beyond your species' current capabilities. We cannot simply hand over the keys to the galaxy to, well, children. Mira forced a polite smile, her hands clasped tightly behind her back to hide their trembling, from frustration, not fear. "With all due respect, Counselor, humanity has made remarkable strides in a short time. We're quick learners, and with guidance." "Yes, yes," Vexera interrupted, waving a dismissive hand. "We've heard this before from countless emerging species. Time will tell if your kind has what it takes to truly join galactic society." As the meeting adjourned, Mira felt a headache building behind her eyes. She had made little progress in weeks, and Earth was counting on her. The weight of her failure pressed down on her shoulders as she made her way back to her quarters. But it was during these walks, away from the prying eyes of her Zarkon handlers, that Mira found moments of hope. She had taken to exploring the approved areas of the city, ostensibly to better understand Zarkon culture. In reality, she was searching for glimpses of the Ursari. It was on one such evening, as the orange sun dipped below the crystalline skyline, that Mira's persistence paid off. In a quiet corner of a public garden, she spotted a group of Ursari tending to the alien flora. Their movements were deliberate, almost reverent, as they pruned and watered the strange, bioluminescent plants. Mira approached slowly, her heart racing. This was her chance to observe the Ursari up close, without the interference of the Zarkon. As she drew near, one of the bear-like creatures looked up, its intelligent eyes meeting hers. For a moment, neither moved. Then, to Mira's astonishment, the Ursari made a series of low, rumbling sounds, clearly a form of communication. The other Ursari turned to look at her, their gazes curious but not hostile. "Hello," Mira said softly, holding out her empty hands in what she hoped was a universal gesture of peace. "I'm Mira. I'd like to understand you better." The Ursari exchanged looks, then the one who had first noticed her took a step forward. It reached out a massive, clawed paw, mimicking Mira's gesture. The moment their hands touched, Mira felt a jolt of something. Understanding. Recognition. She couldn't quite place it, but she knew this was the beginning of something extraordinary. Over the next few days, Mira found every excuse she could to visit the garden. She brought with her a small device, a prototype universal translator she had been developing in secret. It was crude, pieced together from spare parts and programming she had done late into the alien nights, but it was a start. With each visit, the translator improved, picking up nuances in the Ursari's guttural language. Mira learned that they called themselves the Gruv, and that their society was far more complex than the Zarkon had led her to believe. "We remember," the Ursari she had first met, who called himself Koda, told her one evening. The translator rendered his words in a deep, resonant voice. "Before the Tall Ones came, we had cities of our own, knowledge. But they changed things." Mira's eyes widened. "The Zarkon altered your development, but that's a violation of so many galactic laws." Koda's furry face twisted in what might have been a sad smile. Laws protect those who can enforce them, little one. We could not. As Mira delved deeper into the Groth's history and culture, she found herself torn between her official duties and her growing bond with the bear-like aliens. The Zarkon, oblivious to her clandestine meetings, continued to stonewall her diplomatic efforts. It was during a particularly frustrating council session that Mira's two worlds collided. As Counselor Vexera droned on about humanity's shortcomings, Mira's mind wandered to her conversations with Koda. An idea began to form, dangerous, potentially disastrous, but also thrilling in its possibilities. And frankly, Earth being Chen, we fail to see what your species could possibly offer the Galactic Confederation that we don't already. What about a new perspective? Mira interrupted, surprising even herself with her boldness. The council chamber fell silent, all four of Vexera's eyes blinking in shock at the interruption. I beg your pardon. Mira took a deep breath, knowing she was about to step off a cliff with no guarantee of a soft landing. Humanity's greatest strength is our ability to see potential where others see limitations. We forge unlikely alliances, find novel solutions to age-old problems. She could see the Zarkon counselors shifting uncomfortably, but she pressed on. For instance, has the council ever considered the potential of the Groth, the species you call Ursari, as partners rather than servants? The reaction was immediate and volatile. Counselors leaped to their feet, their iridescent scales flashing in agitation. Vexera's voice cut through the chaos, sharp and cold. You overstep, Earth being. The affairs of Zarkon Prime are not your concern. This meeting is adjourned. As Mira was all but escorted from the chamber, she caught a glimpse of something in Vexera's eyes. Not just anger, but fear. She had struck a nerve, and in doing so, might have jeopardized everything. That night, as Mira paced her quarters, a priority communication came through from Admiral Zhang. The holographic image of her superior flickered to life, her expression grim. Diplomat Chen, what the hell is going on down there? We've received a formal complaint from the Zarkon High Council about your conduct. Mira steeled herself. Admiral, I've discovered something that changes everything. The Ursari. They call themselves the Groth. They're not just animals. They're an intelligent species, one that the Zarkon have been suppressing for centuries. Admiral Zhang's frown deepened. Mira, I thought I made it clear that your focus was to be on the Zarkon alliance. We can't afford to. But that's just it, Admiral. Mira interrupted, her voice rising with excitement. The Groth could be the key to everything. Their understanding of this world, their untapped potential. If we could form an alliance with them, instead, or better yet, a three-way partnership. Enough. The Admiral's sharp tone cut through Mira's enthusiasm. Diplomat Chen, you are hereby relieved of your duties. A replacement will be sent within the week. You are to avoid all contact with both the Zarkon and these Groth until then. Is that understood? Mira felt as if the floor had dropped out from under her. But Admiral, that's an order, Chen. Don't make this worse than it already is. The transmission cut off, leaving Mira alone in the suddenly too large room. She sank onto her bed, her mind reeling. Years of training, the hopes of Earth, all potentially ruined because she couldn't leave well enough alone. But as the initial shock wore off, a new determination began to take its place. She might have lost her official standing, but she still had time. A week before her replacement arrived. A week to do. What exactly? As if in answer to her unspoken question, a soft tapping came from her window. Mira approached cautiously, her eyes widening as she saw Koda's massive form crouched on the ledge outside. She quickly opened the window. Koda, what are you doing here? How did you even get up here? The Groth's eyes were solemn. We climb well, little one. But that is not important. We have heard whispers. The tall ones are angry. They plan something bad for you, for us. Mira's blood ran cold. What do you mean? What are they planning? Coda shook his shaggy head. Not clear, but we must act. Now, will you trust us, Mira of Earth? Will you help us reclaim what was taken? For a moment, Mira hesitated. Everything she had worked for, her entire career, hung in the balance. But as she looked into Coda's intelligent eyes, she knew there was only one choice she could live with. Yes, she said, her voice steady despite the fear and excitement coursing through her. I'm with you, Coda. Whatever it takes. As Mira grabbed her few essential belongings and the precious translator, she knew she was stepping into the unknown. But for the first time since arriving on this alien world, she felt like she was exactly where she needed to be. Coda helped her out onto the ledge, his strong arms ensuring she didn't fall. As they began their descent into the alien night, Mira couldn't help but smile. She had come to this world to forge an alliance, to secure humanity's place among the stars. She might have failed in her official mission, but perhaps, just perhaps, she was on the verge of achieving something far greater. The city spread out below them, a glittering expanse of alien architecture and hidden secrets. Somewhere in its depths, the Zarkon were plotting, unaware that their carefully maintained order was about to be challenged. And leading the charge would be the most unlikely of pairs, a human diplomat and a Groth rebel united in their quest for justice and understanding. As they reached the ground and melted into the shadows, Mira felt a thrill of anticipation. The real adventure, she realized, was only just beginning. The Zarkon Ultimatum. The underbelly of Zarkon Prime was a world away from the gleaming spires and pristine gardens Mira had grown accustomed to. Here, in the shadowy lower levels of the city, the air was thick with the scent of alien spices and the hum of machinery. Coda led her through a maze of narrow alleyways, his massive form surprisingly agile in the confined spaces. Where are we going? Mira whispered, her heart pounding with equal parts excitement and fear. Coda's response came through the translator, his deep voice tinged with determination. To the heart of our resistance. For generations we have waited, planned, and hoped. Now, with you, we have a chance. They eventually arrived at what appeared to be an abandoned warehouse. Coda pressed his paw against a hidden panel, and a section of the wall slid away, revealing a bustling command center. Dozens of Groth worked at various stations, their movements purposeful and coordinated. Mira's jaw dropped. I had no idea. How long has this been here? An elder Groth, his fur streaked with silver, approached them. Since the Zarkon first tried to strip us of our identity, he said, his voice gravelly even through the translator. I am Rorik, leader of the Groth Restoration Movement. Coda has told us much about you, Mira of Earth. As Mira was brought up to speed on the Groth's plans, alarms suddenly blared throughout the facility. A young Groth rushed up to Rorik, panic evident in his eyes. Elder, we've intercepted a Zarkon transmission. They're contacting Earth. Mira's blood ran cold. What? Why would they? Her question was answered as the main view screen flickered to life, showing a familiar face, Admiral Zhang. The human leader's expression was grim as she addressed an unseen Zarkon representative. Understand your concerns, Counselor Vexara, but surely there's room for negotiation. Vexara's voice dripped with condescension. Negotiation. Your diplomatic envoy has interfered in matters beyond her understanding. She has consorted with beasts and threatened the delicate balance of our world. No, Admiral Zhang, the time for negotiation has passed. The Zarkon counselor's tone hardened. You have 2 standard Earth weeks to recall all your people from Confederation space and return to your home system. Failure to comply will result in corrective action. Admiral Zhang's facade of calm cracked slightly. Counselor, please. Earth has only just begun to find its place among the stars. You can't expect us to. 2 weeks, Admiral. The Zarkon Confederation has spoken. The transmission cut off, leaving a stunned silence in its wake. Mira felt as if the floor had dropped out from under her. This was all her fault. In her quest to help the Groth, she had inadvertently put Earth itself in danger. Rorik's gentle paw on her shoulder broke her from her spiral of guilt. "Do not blame yourself, young one. The Zarkon have been looking for an excuse to exert their power over your people. You merely provided a convenient pretext." Mira shook her head, fighting back tears of frustration. "But what can we do? Earth's fleet is no match for Zarkon technology. And even if we wanted to comply with their demands, 2 weeks isn't nearly enough time to evacuate all our colonies and outposts." Coda growled softly, a sound that needed no translation. Determination mixed with a hint of anticipation. "Then we fight. Together." Rorik nodded solemnly. "For too long, we have hidden in the shadows, building our strength. Perhaps it is time for the Groth to emerge once more on the galactic stage, with humanity as our allies." Mira's mind raced. It was a crazy idea, born of desperation, but it just might work. If we could somehow get a message to Earth, warn them about what's coming and propose an alliance. "It won't be easy," Rorik cautioned. "The Zarkon control all official communication channels, and even if we could get a message through, your leaders might not believe it coming from an unknown alien species." A spark of an idea flared in Mira's mind. What if it didn't come from an unknown species? I'm still listed as Earth's official diplomatic envoy. If I could access my secure channel. The next hours were a blur of activity. Groth technicians, their skills honed by years of working in secret, modified Mira's communication device to bypass Zarkon security protocols. It was a risky move. If detected, it would confirm every accusation Vex-Era had made against her, but with Earth's future hanging in the balance, it was a risk they had to take. Finally, after what felt like an eternity, a connection was established. Admiral Zhang's holographic form flickered into view, her eyes widening in surprise. "Diplomat Chen, what is the meaning of this?" "You were ordered to." "Admiral, please," Mira interrupted, her voice urgent. "I know you have every reason to distrust me right now, but you need to listen. The Zarkon ultimatum isn't what it seems. There's so much more going on here." Over the next tense minutes, Mira laid out everything she had learned. The true nature of the Groth, the Zarkon's centuries of oppression, and the potential for an alliance that could change the balance of power in the galaxy. Admiral Zhang listened in stunned silence, her expression unreadable. When Mira finished, the older woman sighed heavily. "Mira, what you're proposing, it's unprecedented. Allying ourselves with an unknown species against a major galactic power. The risks are enormous." "I know, Admiral, but the potential rewards are just as great. The Groth have technology and knowledge that even the Zarkon don't fully understand. Together, we might stand a chance." There was a long pause, during which Mira held her breath. Finally, Admiral Zhang spoke. "I'll need to consult with the Council, but we'll consider your proposal. In the meantime, do what you can to prepare. If we're going to face down the Zarkon, we'll need every advantage we can get." As the transmission ended, Mira felt a mix of relief and trepidation wash over her. It wasn't a full commitment, but it was a start. She turned to Rorik and Coda, who had been watching the exchange intently. "Well," she said, managing a small smile, "I guess we have some work to do." The next 2 weeks were a whirlwind of activity. While Earth's leaders debated and prepared, Mira worked tirelessly with the Groth. They pored over ancient texts and schematics, reactivating long-dormant technologies that had been hidden from the Zarkon for generations. Coda proved to be an invaluable partner, his strength and intuition complementing Mira's analytical skills. Together, they made breakthrough after breakthrough, each discovery bringing a spark of hope to the Groth's eyes. But it wasn't all smooth sailing. More than once, they had close calls with Zarkon patrols, forced to hide in cramped maintenance tunnels or abandoned buildings. The stress began to take its toll, and Mira found herself plagued by doubts. One night, as they took a rare moment of rest, Coda found her staring out at the alien cityscape, her expression troubled. "You carry a heavy burden, little one," he rumbled softly. Mira sighed. "I can't help but wonder. What if I'm wrong, Coda? What if this alliance fails, and I've doomed both our peoples?" Coda's massive paw gently turned her to face him. "In all our years of oppression, no one has ever seen us as you do, Mira. You gave us hope when we had all but lost it. Whatever comes, we face it together." His words warmed her heart, chasing away some of the doubt. As they stood there, an unlikely pair united by circumstance and shared purpose, Mira realized that win or lose, she was exactly where she needed to be. The day of reckoning arrived all too soon. As the Zarkon's deadline approached, tension filled the air like an electric charge. Mira and the Groth gathered in their hidden command center, watching the skies with bated breath. Suddenly, the sensors lit up. A massive Zarkon fleet had entered the system, their ships sleek and deadly. But they weren't alone. A second fleet appeared, smaller but no less determined, the combined forces of Earth and its colonies. Admiral Zhang's face appeared on the main screen, her expression grim but resolute. "Diplomat Chen, I hope you're ready. The Council has agreed to your alliance, but it's a gamble. We're committing everything we have." Mira nodded, her throat tight. "We're ready, Admiral." The Groth stand with Earth. As if on cue, the ground beneath them began to rumble. All across Zarkon Prime, hidden bunkers and long-sealed caverns burst open. Groth warriors emerged, clad in armor that seemed to shimmer and shift, blending ancient craftsmanship with recovered technology. From secret hangars, ships of Groth design took to the skies, smaller than the Zarkon vessels, but nimble and armed with weapons that pulsed with an otherworldly energy. The Zarkon response was immediate and furious. Vexera's voice boomed across all frequencies, filled with rage and disbelief. "What treachery is this? Ursari, stand down. Earth beings, you ally yourselves with beasts against your betters." Mira stepped forward, her voice steady as she addressed not just the Zarkon, but the entire system. "No, Counselor, we ally ourselves with friends against tyrants. The Groth are not beasts, but a people you sought to subjugate. That ends today." With those words, the battle for Zarkon Prime and the future of galactic politics began in earnest. Mira found herself in the heart of the command center, coordinating between Groth and human forces, her translator working overtime to bridge the gap between species. As the first shots were fired and ships clashed in the skies above, Mira caught Coda's eye across the room. The Groth warrior nodded solemnly, a gesture of solidarity and shared purpose. Whatever the outcome, history was being made. The unlikely alliance of humans and Groth, forged in secrecy and desperation, was now unveiled for all the galaxy to see. And as the battle raged on, Mira allowed herself a moment of hope. Perhaps, just perhaps, they could reshape the stars themselves. Battle for Earth's future. The space above Zarkon Prime erupted into chaos as the combined Earth Groth fleet engaged the Zarkon Armada. Mira's heart raced as she watched the tactical display, a dizzying array of lights representing thousands of lives locked in mortal combat. Human ships form up on Vector 227. Admiral Zhang's voice crackled through the comm. "Groth squadrons, we need cover on our flank." Rorik, the elder Groth, barked orders in his native tongue, which Mira's translator rendered into crisp English. The coordination between the two species, while not perfect, was a testament to the frantic preparations of the past 2 weeks. Coda stood at Mira's side, his massive form tense with anticipation. "The Zarkon outnumber us," he growled softly, "but they underestimate our resolve." As if to prove his point, a squadron of Groth fighters dove into the fray, their ancient yet advanced weapons slicing through Zarkon shields like they were made of paper. The larger human ships provided covering fire. Their conventional weapons may be less effective, but still capable of overwhelming Zarkon defenses through sheer volume. But the Zarkon were not galactic overlords for nothing. Their capital ships unleashed salvos of energy weapons that lit up the black of space, vaporizing smaller craft and leaving even the largest Earth vessels scared and burning. "We're losing too many," Mira exclaimed, her fingers flying over the holographic interface as she tried to coordinate rescue efforts. "We need to change tactics." Warwick's aged eyes narrowed as he studied the battle map. "Perhaps, yes. Mira, do you trust us?" She met his gaze, unflinching. "With my life." The elder Groth nodded solemnly. "Then it's time to unveil our final secret." He turned to a group of Groth technicians. "Activate the world song." A low hum began to build throughout the command center, resonating in Mira's bones. She watched in awe as growth all around her began to sway, their eyes closed in concentration. Coda placed a gentle paw on her shoulder. "The world song is our most closely guarded technology," he explained, his voice reverent. "It connects all growth, allowing us to act as one." Suddenly, the tactical display shifted. The Groth ships, once scattered across the battlefield, began to move with uncanny precision. They flowed like water around Zarkon attacks, their formation shifting faster than any verbal orders could account for. Admiral Zhang's voice came through, a mix of awe and confusion. "Chen, what's happening out there?" "The growth. It's like they're reading the Zarkon's minds." Mira leaned into the comm, her voice tight with excitement. "Not mind-reading, Admiral. Something far more powerful. Trust them." The tide of battle began to turn. Groth ships anticipated Zarkon maneuvers seconds before they happened, allowing the Earth fleet to capitalize on every opening. Zarkon formations, once impenetrable, now found themselves outflanked and divided. But the Zarkon were not about to go down without a fight. A massive energy signature lit up the sensors, emanating from the Zarkon flagship. "By the ancestors," Rorik breathed. "They're charging their solar lance." Mira's blood ran cold. She had read about the solar lance in briefings, a weapon capable of destroying entire planets. If it fired, not only would the fleet be annihilated, but Zarkon Prime itself would be at risk. "We need to take out that flagship," she shouted. "All ships, focus fire." But the Zarkon flagship was too well defended, its shields absorbing everything the Allied fleet could throw at it. The charge continued to build, a ball of blinding energy forming at the ship's prow. In that moment of desperation, Coda stepped forward. "Mira," he said, his voice calm despite the chaos around them. "I have an idea, but it's dangerous." She met his gaze, seeing the determination there. "Tell me." "The world song. It's not just for coordination. With enough focus, we can project it outward. Disrupt technology, even minds, but to affect something that large." Mira understood immediately. "You'd be defenseless. Every Groth would have to focus entirely on the song." Coda nodded solemnly. "It's a risk we must take, for both our peoples." Time seemed to slow as Mira weighed the options. It was an insane gamble, leaving the Groth vulnerable in the middle of a space battle. But as the solar lance's charge reached critical levels, she realized they were out of choices. "Do it," she said, her voice barely a whisper. Rorik relayed the order, and the hum of the world song grew to a crescendo. Every Groth, from the command center to the ships in space, fell into a deep trance. Coda's eyes closed, his massive form swaying slightly as he joined the collective effort. For a moment, nothing seemed to happen. Then, like a wave of invisible energy, the world song burst outward. Mira watched in awe as it washed over the Zarkon flagship. Sparks erupted across its hull, systems flickering and failing. The solar lance's charge destabilized, the ball of energy collapsing in on itself. The resulting explosion ripped through the flagship, leaving it a drifting hulk. A cheer went up from the human ships, but Mira's elation was short-lived. With the Groth incapacitated, the remaining Zarkon forces rallied, pressing their temporary advantage. "Groth ships are sitting ducks." Admiral Zhang's voice was urgent. "We need to protect them until they recover." Mira's mind raced. The human fleet alone couldn't hold off the Zarkon for long. They needed something, anything, to turn the tide once more. Then, inspiration struck. "Admiral," she called out, "the Zarkon communication protocols. Can we broadcast on their frequencies?" There was a moment of confusion, then understanding dawned in the Admiral's voice. "We can try. What do you have in mind?" Mira's fingers flew over the console, pulling up every scrap of intelligence they had on Zarkon culture and psychology. "If we can't beat them with force," she said, a grim smile on her face, "we'll beat them with words." Using the command center's powerful transmitters, boosted by the lingering effects of the world song, Mira broadcast directly to the Zarkon fleet. Her voice, translated into the musical tones of the Zarkon language, echoed across every ship. "Warriors of Zarkon," she began, infusing her words with all the diplomatic skill she possessed. "Look around you. Your flagship is destroyed. Your leaders have fled. And for what? To deny the truth that stands before you." She paused, letting her words sink in. "The growth, whom you dismissed as beasts, have proven themselves your equals. Humanity, whom you sought to bully into submission, stands defiant. Together, we offer not conquest, but cooperation. A new way forward for all species." Mira's heart pounded as she continued, knowing that every word could mean the difference between victory and annihilation. "You have a choice. Continue this pointless battle and be remembered as tyrants, or lay down your arms and help us build a galaxy where all beings are treated with dignity. The future is watching. What will you choose?" As her words faded, an eerie silence fell over the battlefield. For a heart-stopping moment, Mira feared she had miscalculated. Then, one by one, Zarkon ships began to power down their weapons. A gruff Zarkon voice came over the comm. "This is Commander Zextor of the Third Fleet. We request a ceasefire to discuss terms." The command center erupted in cheers. Mira sagged with relief, feeling the weight of countless lives lift from her shoulders. She turned to find Coda awake and alert, a look of pride in his eyes. "You did it, little one," he rumbled softly. "You found a third path." As the hours passed, more and more Zarkon ships stood down. There were holdouts, yes, but without central leadership, the Zarkon war machine crumbled. The combined diplomacy of humans and the ancient wisdom of the Gruoth proved more powerful than any weapon. In the days that followed, as the dust of battle settled, representatives from Earth, the Gruoth, and the Zarkon met to forge a new galactic accord. Mira found herself at the center of it all, translating not just words but cultures, bridging gaps that had seemed insurmountable just weeks before. The road ahead would not be easy. Centuries of Zarkon dominance and Gruoth subjugation couldn't be erased overnight. But as Mira looked around the table at beings from 3 different species, all working towards a common goal, she felt a spark of real hope. This, she realized, was why she had joined the diplomatic corps. Not to navigate bureaucracy or attend stilted formal functions, but to forge true understanding between different peoples. To find the common ground that could turn enemies into allies. As the negotiations wrapped up for the day, Mira stepped out onto a balcony overlooking the Zarkon capital. The city was changed, scars of battle visible even from this distance. But there was an energy in the air, a sense of possibility that hadn't existed before. Coda joined her, his bulk somehow comforting in its familiarity. "What are you thinking, Mira of Earth?" he asked softly. She smiled, gazing out at the alien sunset. "I'm thinking that this is just the beginning. We've taken the first step towards something amazing, Coda. A true galactic community, where every species has a voice." The growth rumbled in agreement. "It will not be an easy path. There will be those who resist change, who cling to old hatreds." "I know," Mira nodded, "but we've proven that the impossible is possible. Humans, Gruoth, and Zarkon, working together. If we can do that, we can do anything." As the light of Zarkon Prime's sun painted the sky in shades of orange and purple, Mira felt a sense of peace settle over her. The future was uncertain, yes, but it was also filled with potential, and whatever challenges lay ahead, she knew she wouldn't face them alone. A new galactic order. 5 years had passed since the Battle of Zarkon Prime, and the galaxy was a changed place. The grand halls of the newly established Galactic Concord buzzed with activity as representatives from dozens of species gathered for the annual summit. At the center of it all stood Mira Chen, now serving as Earth's senior ambassador to the Concord. She smoothed down her formal attire, a blend of human styling and alien influences that reflected the new era of cooperation. As she prepared to address the assembly, her mind drifted back to the tumultuous years that had led to this moment. The immediate aftermath of the battle had been chaotic. The Zarkon Empire, once monolithic, had fractured. Some factions embraced change, eager to atone for centuries of oppression. Others resisted, clinging to old prejudices and dreams of dominance. It had taken all of Mira's diplomatic skills, backed by the combined might of Earth and the Gruoth, to prevent the situation from devolving into all-out civil war. The Gruoth, for their part, had faced their own challenges. Emerging from centuries of subjugation, they had to relearn how to govern themselves, how to interact with other species as equals rather than servants or rebels. Coda, to Mira's pride, had become a respected leader among his people, bridging the gap between tradition and progress. Earth, once a newcomer on the galactic stage, now found itself thrust into a position of significant influence. The alliance with the Gruoth had given humanity access to technologies beyond their wildest dreams, accelerating their development by centuries. But with that power came responsibility, and the need to navigate complex interstellar politics. A gentle touch on her arm broke Mira from her reverie. She turned to see Coda, dressed in the formal regalia of a Gruoth elder, his intelligent eyes twinkling with warmth. "Lost in thought, little one," he rumbled softly, using the old nickname that had stuck despite Mira's elevated status. She smiled, the tension easing from her shoulders. "Just reflecting on how far we've come, and how far we still have to go." Coda nodded sagely. "The path of unity is never easy, but it is worth walking." Their conversation was interrupted by the sound of the assembly being called to order. Mira took a deep breath, squaring her shoulders as she prepared to address the gathered representatives. As she stepped up to the podium, Mira gazed out at the sea of faces before her. Humans sat alongside Gruoth, their differences in size and appearance no longer a source of fear or derision. Zarkon delegates, their once haughty demeanor replaced by a more thoughtful air, listened attentively. And scattered throughout were representatives from a dozen other species, some only recently emerging onto the galactic stage, others long-standing powers reevaluating their place in the new order. "Esteemed colleagues," Mira began, her voice carrying clearly through the vast chamber. 5 years ago, we stood on the brink of destruction. Ancient hatreds and fears threatened to tear our galaxy apart. But in our darkest hour, we found strength not in domination, but in cooperation. She paused, letting her words sink in. The Galactic Concord was born from that crucible, not as an empire, not as a monolithic power, but as a forum where all voices can be heard, where the rights of every sentient being are respected. Mira's gaze swept the room, making eye contact with key figures. "We have achieved much in these 5 years. The Zarkon Reformation has seen the dismantling of oppressive systems and the integration of former subject races into positions of true authority. The Gruoth cultural renaissance has reintroduced wonders of art and science long thought lost, and Earth's Deep Space Initiative has pushed the boundaries of exploration, discovering new worlds and new civilizations eager to join our community." A murmur of approval rippled through the assembly. But Mira wasn't finished. Her expression grew more serious as she continued. "But we cannot rest on our laurels. Challenges remain. The Outer Rim worlds still struggle with lawlessness and exploitation. Ancient weapons, relics of forgotten wars, pose existential threats to entire systems. And perhaps most pressingly, we face a crisis of identity. What does it mean to be part of this concord? How do we balance the needs of individual cultures with the greater good? She leaned forward, her voice passionate. I propose that we view these challenges not as obstacles, but as opportunities. Opportunities to prove that our commitment to cooperation is more than just fine words. Opportunities to show that diverse species can come together to solve problems that none could tackle alone. Mira outlined a series of bold initiatives. A joint task force to address outer rim instability, a scientific consortium to study and neutralize ancient weapons, and a cultural exchange program to foster deeper understanding between member species. As she spoke, she could see the impact of her words. The Zarkon delegates, once skeptical of sharing power, nodded in agreement. Gruoth representatives, still sometimes hesitant to assert themselves, sat up straighter, eyes shining with pride and purpose. And her fellow humans, she noted with satisfaction, looked outward with curiosity rather than fear. We stand at a crossroads, Mira concluded. The easy path would be to retreat into isolation, to let fear and suspicion rule our interactions. But I believe we are capable of so much more. Together, we can build a galaxy of peace, of prosperity, of endless discovery. The choice is ours. As Mira stepped back from the podium, the chamber erupted in applause. Species that once would have been at each other's throats now stood united in purpose. It wasn't unanimous. She could see pockets of resistance, delegates who still clung to old ways of thinking. But they were the minority now, their influence waning in the face of this new galactic order. The rest of the summit passed in a blur of meetings, negotiations, and friendly gatherings. Mira found herself constantly amazed by the progress they had made. Zarkon scientists collaborated with Groth philosophers to unlock the secrets of the world song. Human artists incorporated alien aesthetics into breathtaking new forms of expression. And everywhere, there was a sense of possibility, of barriers being broken down. As the final day of the summit drew to a close, Mira found herself once again on a balcony, gazing out at the stars. This time, the view was from Earth's orbital diplomatic station, the blue-green jewel of humanity's homeworld hanging below. Coda joined her, as he so often did in moments of quiet reflection. "You've done well, Mira," he said, his deep voice filled with pride. "Your words have inspired many." Mira smiled, but there was a hint of weariness in her eyes. "Sometimes I wonder if it's enough. There's still so much to do, so many wounds to heal." The Groth elder placed a comforting paw on her shoulder. "Change does not come overnight. But look how far we've come. When we first met, could you have imagined this?" She had to admit he was right. The galaxy they inhabited now would have seemed like an impossible dream just a few short years ago. "You know," Mira said, a hint of mischief in her tone, "I never did thank you properly for scaring the life out of me that night in the garden on Zarkon Prime." Coda's rumbling laugh filled the air. "And I never thanked you for seeing us as more than beasts. I suppose we're even." Their moment of levity was interrupted by a junior aide, slightly out of breath from running. "Ambassador Chen, Elder Coda, you're needed in the command center immediately." Mira and Coda exchanged a look of concern before hurrying after the aide. In the command center, they found a flurry of activity. Admiral Zhang, now head of Earth's Interstellar Defense Force, stood before a large holographic display. "What's the situation, Admiral?" Mira asked, slipping easily into crisis mode. Admiral Zhang's face was grim. "We've detected an anomaly at the edge of charted space. Massive energy readings, unlike anything we've seen before. And it's moving." The hologram shifted, showing a swirling mass of energy, tendrils of light reaching out as if searching for something. Or someone. "Is it a weapon?" Coda asked, his fur bristling with tension. The Admiral shook her head. "We don't think so. The pattern is too complex, too deliberate. Our best guess is that it's a form of communication. But from who? And why now? Mira stared at the display, her mind racing. After a moment, she straightened, decision made. Admiral, I want a ship prepared. The fastest, most advanced vessel we have. Crew it with our best scientists, diplomats, and if necessary, soldiers. You can't be serious. Admiral Zhang protested. We have no idea what that thing is. It could be incredibly dangerous. Exactly, Mira replied, a familiar spark of excitement in her eyes. We don't know what it is, but that's why we're out here, isn't it? To explore, to make new connections. If this is a form of communication, then someone is reaching out, and I intend to answer. Coda stepped forward, standing tall beside her. The Groth will join you. Our world song may be of use in deciphering this new phenomenon. Admiral Zhang looked between them, then sighed in resignation. I'll never understand how you two can be so calm in the face of the unknown. But I suppose that's why you're the diplomats, and I'm just the muscle. I'll have your ship ready within the hour. As preparations were made, Mira felt a familiar thrill course through her. This was why she had joined the diplomatic corps, why she had risked everything to forge the alliance between humans and Groth. Not just to maintain peace, but to push the boundaries of knowledge and understanding. She gazed out at the stars once more, the swirling anomaly now visible as a faint flicker of light in the distance. Whatever it was, whoever had sent it, Mira knew that humanity and its allies were ready to face the challenge. They had overcome their own divisions, forged a new way of coexistence. Now it was time to take that spirit of cooperation and discovery to the next level. As Mira boarded the sleek exploration vessel, Coda at her side, and a crew of the brightest minds, from a dozen species at her back, she couldn't help but smile. The journey that had begun in a garden on Zarkon Prime was far from over. In fact, she realized it was only just beginning. The ship's engines hummed to life, and with a flash of light, they were gone, racing towards the unknown. The Galactic Concord, born of conflict but tempered by wisdom, faced its next great adventure. And Mira Chen, once a lone human diplomat, now a bridge between worlds, was ready to meet whatever mysteries the universe had in store. The end, or perhaps just the beginning.